G'day guys, how are we? Welcome to the fabulous Gold Coast, Queensland. Beautiful one day, perfect the next, and that's truly the case up here at the moment. We've come from miserable old Victoria where it's about 12 degrees up to here on the Gold Coast where it is about 30 degrees and it's bloody hot out in the sun, which is why I'm doing this preview of the Brian Mendoza TSZYU World Title Fight card from under the shade of our hotel complex or our apartment complex. So forgive me if I'm not down on the beach because with a headlight mine with my haircut not exactly suitable. So what I'm going to do here is going to go through the whole card. I've got it written down in front of me there. So I'm going to go through each fight. I've just been to the weigh-in at Pacific Fair at Pacific Fair Shopping Centre. It was a really good event, really good turnout. All the fighters looked in great condition. It's going to be an awesome card. It starts at 9:30 in the morning. On free to air, this is Australia I'm talking about, free to air on Fox Sports, and then at 11 o'clock is the official pay-per-view. So let's go through, and that's actually the order of the fights is a little bit surprising. I'm going to go through it with you now, but it is just, as I said, a little bit surprising the way or the fights they've actually put on the main card compared to what they've put on the undercard, the non-televised or non-televised pay-per-view portion of the show, if that makes sense. So let's go through it. So to kick off the card, surprisingly, we've got a 10-round title fight for the IBF Pan-Pacific Super Welterweight title. It's a vacant title between Australia's Wade Ryan and Russia's Sergey Vorobyev. Now, I'm not really sure a lot about Vorobyev. He's 19-1, 13 KOs. Wade Ryan, 21-11 with 8 KOs. I know a lot about Wade Ryan, of course, but yeah, I think he always comes prepared. He's tough, he's hard, very hard to get a clean shot on, let alone hurt or stop. Vorobyev, I've seen a little bit of him on YouTube. Wasn't overly impressed. I'm not quite sure what the deal with him is and what maybe the prospects with him are. I'm not quite sure. He's training with Tony Del Vecchio. He's a very good trainer, so I'm sure he'll be well prepared and come and put on a really good show. And I would expect that maybe he will get the decision over Wade Ryan. Wade's sort of the journeyman type of fighter. Look, good fighter, he's game, always comes prepared. Well, as I said, well trained, but I just think that Vorobyev, from what I've seen, a limited amount of footage of him, I think he'll get the decision, even though it's over 10 rounds. I think he's actually a bit of a YouTuber. I'm not quite sure, but I've looked at a little bit on YouTube and for his main fights, and he actually doesn't look too bad, but I'm not quite sure, as I said, what all the fuss is about with him yet. Let's see what it's like tomorrow. So that'll be the first fight on the card. So we'll go with Vorobyev in a decision win there. I don't think he's going to get Wade Ryan out of there. It was funny at the weigh-in, though, he did say to Wade Ryan that he must break him, as Ivan Drago would say, but we'll see if he can back that up. So that's 10 rounds for the IBF Pan-Pacific Super Welterweight title. Then this is the fight that surprised me why it's not on the main card. It's Hass Hamden, trained by Jeff Fennick, 6-0, 1 KO, coming up against Danvis Kushieri, who's 3-1 and 2 knockouts, trained by Ben Sava. I did actually meet Ben Sava at the weigh-in. I really like what he does online and as a trainer, so I thought I would say g'day. And Danvis Kushieri. So I've got no doubt he'll be very well prepared, Danvis. I don't really know a lot about him. Hass Hamden I've seen quite a few times. Of course, he's been on a few of the big shows and obviously trained by Jeff Fennick, so he should be well prepared. Now, the two talk tough, there's a bit of push and shove and all the rest of it. Let's see if they can back it up in the ring tomorrow. It's for eight rounds at Super Welterweight. It's not for a title or anything like that. But look, I'm going to go for Hass Hamden in a decision win. He's only had the 1 knockout in 6 fights, so I doubt he's going to get a tough guy like Kushieri out of there. And as I said, Kushieri is very well trained with Ben Sava. So look, I'm going to go for Hass Hamden in a decision win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Kushieri gets up in that one, but I've got to pick one way or the other, so we'll go for Hass Hamden in an 8-round one. And as I said, I was surprised that wasn't on the main card. The next fight to kick off the main pay-per-view card is a heavyweight showdown, and don't blink in this one, I wouldn't have thought. It's Toisi Vusuatu, 5-1, 5 KOs. He's up against the towering Inferno, Julius Long, 18, 26 and 1 with 14 KOs. That's at 4 rounds at heavyweight. So I think it's only 4 rounds because Julius Long has taken the fight on really short notice. I'm not quite sure whether he was 100% prepared for it, but he'll come prepared mentally and experience-wise, I think, Julius Long. It was actually pretty entertaining at the weigh-in. It's probably the most spite you've probably seen out of any of the fights on the card. The two, Julius Long sprung into action, and security was sort of called in there to keep the boys at an arm's distance. But look, I think Julius Long, he's even though he's had 26 losses, don't let that fool you. He's very durable. He's been all over the world, lots of experience in the boxing game. So I think he'll be game. He'll be tough. Has got an okay chin, but the fact it's on short notice really worries me. I see TSZYU cutting Julius Long down in probably the third or fourth round, if I had to pick. Maybe it could even be earlier. But I think Julius Long comes prepared. And look, you need guys like Julius Long around, so I'm not having a go at him here. But it would be probably a good payday for him. Obviously, a trip to the Gold Coast here. So I think he'll give his best, but I would say obviously R2 will get that one by knockout. Next one I'm really looking forward to. It's actually the women's fight. It's Chanel Dargan taking on Amber Amelia. Both of these girls bring it. Chanel Dargan is 2-1-2. Amber Amelia is 3-1 with the one knockout. It's 8 rounds for the Australian Super Bantamweight title. I really like this one. Chanel Dargan always comes to fight. She's always in a war. She has said that she's been told just to bring it back a little bit and probably box a little bit smarter. Amber Amelia, very well trained. I like her style, very skillful. And I think if I've got to pick a winner in this one, I would go probably for Amber Amelia in a 8-round decision win over Chanel Dargan. I don't see it going the distance, but I think Amber Amelia, a lot of talent for her. Just look, I know it probably goes against the grain with what they're trying to do with Chanel Dargan, but I would probably say to her, don't try and go out there and box a good little boxer like Amber Amelia. Go back to what's got you to this point, go out there and try and punch on for 8 rounds. But we'll see what happens there. But I'm going to go for Amber Amelia in that one. And then we go to the last 3 fights on the card. Some really good fights here. Nathaniel May up against Jackson John England. Nathaniel May 22-3 with 13 knockouts. England 14-2 with 8 knockouts. 10 rounds for the vacant IBF Australasian super featherweight title. On both Western Australian boards, I think it's going to be a great fight. Look, it's really tough to pick because I would normally go for Nathaniel May quite comfortably, I will say, but he has been really inactive over the last few years. I'm really hoping this is a springboard onto bigger and better things for him. Jackson John England, as we saw against Paul Fleming, a very, very good young fighter, only the 2 losses in 16 fights. So I think it's going to be a great fight. One thing I will say about this fight, I was really impressed by both of these guys at the weigh-in and the press conference and everything in the lead-up. There was no pushing and shoving. There was no argy-bargy. There was no trash talking, no sledging, no insults. It was just 2 guys with a mutual respect of each other who have complete faith in their ability, good teams behind them, and they just want to get it on there and punch on. And actually, even more surprising, not only on the stage did they actually embrace them, there was no stare off or anything like that. I saw them actually after the weigh-in at Pacific Fair, just in a little corner having a little bit of a chat amongst themselves. So you don't need to have all this fake bravado that you see at the weigh-ins and press conferences. You've got 2 really, really good fighters. You don't care about all that stuff. You just want to see him get it on. So that should be a really, really good fight. I'm going to go for Nathaniel May in a decision win there. Hopefully get him back on track, even though Jackson John England's very well trained, very well prepared. You should see the physique on this guy in superb physical condition. But it was also good to see Nathaniel May probably looking the best I've seen him for a while as well, as far as his physique goes. So I'm going to, as I said, I'll go for Nathaniel May in a 10-round decision win there. Then to the main support, this will be a really good one. It's Sam Goodman, 15-0, 7 knockouts, taking on Mexican-American Miguel Flores, 25-4-1 with 12 knockouts at 12 rounds at featherweight. No titles on the line here, just a straight 12 rounds. I really like this fight. I've checked out Flores online against, especially his last fight against Abner Maris. Hasn't really been active, but he's had a lot of fights. As I said, he's had 30 fights. So at his level, I don't think you need to be overly active all the time. You just have to get the right fights, and I think he'll bring it to Sam Goodman. The one thing I will say about Flores, though, he's a typical Mexican-American type of fighter. Walks up, he likes to dig hard to the body, hook hard to the head. No frills about him. He'll just keep walking. He's tough, hard, but he is susceptible to a right hand. Mares rocked him a few times with overhand right. So I think Sam Goodman will be looking to exploit that opening. And I reckon Sam Goodman, I don't think he takes his fight if there's a real risk involved. Goodman is rated number 1 by a couple of sanctioning bodies, so I don't see him really taking a lot of chances with this one. I think he just wants a nice, good scalp. I think the odds are it's going to go 12 rounds. Goodman only with the 7 knockouts in 15 wins. So I don't think he's got what it takes power-wise to get Flores out of there, but I think he wins a unanimous decision and gets a world title shot either the end of this year or early next year. So that will be the main support, which brings us to the main event, of course, which is Australia's TSZYU up against the USA's Brian Mendoza. TSZYU 23-0, 17 knockouts. Brian Mendoza 22-2 with 16 knockouts for over 12 rounds for the WBO Super Welterweight title. So what do we say about this one? We've all seen the dynamic nature of TSZYU's last 2 fights. Of course, the first round knockout of Campo and the 9th round knockout of Harrison. Mendoza's last fight was against Sebastian Fundora with that sensational knockout. But looking at them close, I know they've used Mendoza's highlight reel knockouts to really promote this event. What you don't really see is the lead up to the knockouts, and that's probably the one thing or why I'm very, very confidently going for TSZYU. If you look at the Sebastian Fundora fight with Mendoza, he was behind. Fundora was actually handling pretty easily, I thought. He's had the loss against Ramos Jr. as well. So I just think that from what I've seen, he's sort of marketed as a puncher. I don't see him as a puncher. Yes, he's got one punch knockout power, which we've seen. But if you watch his fights, he's actually more of a boxer. He likes to be on the back foot. He likes to back up, pick his shots. The problem is that TSZYU can do everything better than what he can do. So I think TSZYU will take center ring. He'll push Mendoza back. Mendoza will probably try and have a look at him, poke the jab, box and move a little bit. But that's, for me, the worst possible thing you can do against TSZYU, because TSZYU will take center ring. He will put that perceived pressure on Mendoza. Mendoza will box, but I think the only possible chance he has is to land a big shot on Tim. I think Tim will be very, very well prepared, defensive-wise, game plan-wise. And I can just see him backing Mendoza up, because the thing is, I think if Mendoza tries to bomb TSZYU out of there, I think Tim will have the defense and overall technique and talent to go with that. And I think if he tries to box Tim will just hunt him down and get him out of there. So the way I see the fight going, I see Mendoza starting on the move, on the back foot, Tim taking center ring, just taking his time, setting him up. I don't think you'll see anything like the Ocampo fight where he goes out there and tries to take him out in the first round, or even Harrison, after the first 2 or 3 rounds, he really went on the hunt after him as well. I think you'll see him be very cautious against Brian Mendoza, hunt him down, take his time, have a really good look at him, and then I just think he systematically breaks Mendoza down as the rounds go on. I just don't think Brian has the tank to go with Tim either. Tim fights at a pretty good pace, and the thing is, he might not throw a lot of punches. There's a big difference between the work rate as far as your hands goes, then there's a work rate of your actual body language. So what I mean by that is it's a little bit like Triple G does as well. They will take center ring and they will actually counter punch you but make you do all the work. So they'll put the pressure on but make you punch first, and then they'll counter you and come over the top and with those big hooks and uppercuts that Tim likes to throw. So that's the way I see it going. Tim just breaking Mendoza down round by round by round, and Brian not really having the natural ability for starters, but also I don't think the right technique to go with Tim. And I just think after 6, 7, 8 rounds, you'll just see Mendoza pretty much spent and done. And I think TSZYU gets him out of there in 9 or maybe 10 rounds. So look, it's not going to be easy. At this level, these fights are never easy. I just think that, as I said, TSZYU has got every single thing to cover Brian Mendoza. If he wants to box, he'll outbox him. If he wants to punch, he'll outpunch him. So I can only see this fight going one way, and that is TSZYU with a late round stoppage of Brian Mendoza to make the first defence of being the official WBO Super Welterweight World Champion, and maybe fights with Charlo and Crawford or Spence or Canelo next year. So it's a really, really exciting time for TSZYU. I did quickly catch up with him after the weigh-in today. I just happened to run into Glenn Jennings and the team as they were on the way out. and he looks in really good spirits, really good shape, and he just looks out for a big performance at the Gold Coast Exhibition Centre tomorrow. So it kicks off at 9:30 on Fox Sports free to air, and then pay-per-view on main event at 11 a.m. Queensland time, that is. I think that's 12 p.m. In the southern states. Not quite sure overseas, but I'm sure you'll all work it out. So I hope you've enjoyed that little preview of the whole card. Hope you enjoy the day, and we'll see you next time.